Bye. Yeah, it's so too bad. Welcome to Bad Boy Running. We've started recording early because Jody and I were just singing the praises of one of our guests who's coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks, Tony Piedad, and
Big Tone. You'll find out with Big Tone.
Big Tony. Yeah, it's really nice actually. We thought we'd bring you in on the conversation because what you were just saying, Jody, is incredible. This guy is basically, we want to sing his praises to you. He's going to promote the episode. It's good for us, but just because there's some nice people in running and there's some good people in running, and Tony's got to be up there as one of the best.
Yeah, one of the best in terms of what he's doing and what he's done. But in no way is he's so self-effacing.
Yeah.
And in no way is he, kind of going out of his way to kind of even over promote or even promote what he's doing. Like he does, he talks about it and he gets into to talk about it, but it's not as if he's like desperately trying to ram it down your throat and he's like on this mission to constantly talk about, the benefits of doing those things. He's created, a couple of things which have resonated and done really well and kind of just left them to do well organically, to just grow, naturally based on what people are doing. And so, I was just saying that it's such like a breath of fresh air compared with, and I was being delicate here, and then you jumped in with like knobheads, but it's true. You get like so much, and we experience this a lot. And we experience this a lot when we go to especially places like Run Show and things like that, where you get people jumping and go like, "Oh yeah, here I am. I've been running for like 5 minutes, and I've got this amazing idea for this app or whatever it is that no one has ever done before. That it's just how about we do, and of course it's an idea that's been done loads of different times and has failed for whatever reasons. And he's just like the total opposite of that. He's the total opposite of that. It's like he's got an idea that has worked, and he just hasn't taken it too far. He's kept the right amount of momentum for it to be going the right amount of time to build up like like a mass movement around it. It's just and without having to do the shouty over promise, over sell anything. So it's
already
really
got me in trouble though.
Why?
Because as you'd expect, after podcast record last night, I go down, speak to the missus, speak to Briggsy, and I was telling her
what have you done? What have you set up a running community where everyone says no? What have you done with your life?
Oh, no.
That kind of conversation was it?
Briggsy doesn't want me doing more distractions away from core business. She's like, pick a lane for fuck's sake. Well, she doesn't say that, but I think in her head she's like, stop doing these other things. Just make Cafe Bullet big so that we can like have children and raise them without being financially ruined. I was saying it to her because Tony was saying, because he helps recycle trainers, amazing, and he was saying that 97% of the donations, and I think that was the number he plucked out rather than an exact number, were just shoes that could be reused, and there was no actual real harm to them as an aesthetic shoe. It is just maybe the foam had been downtrodden, and it's really highlighted to Briggsy the fact that I'm a hoarder of trainers and that I literally should just get rid of all my shoes because they've all got holes in and probably can't be repaired, and I'm still refusing to throw them out because I'm like, there's life in that yet. Come on.
Yeah,
so,
I'm the same. I'm like, people have been.
I'm going to get you various. You tell me, Jody. You hold on a sec. It's just downstairs. You tell me if you think there's still life in these. Okay.
Okay.
One sec.
You're asking the wrong person because I'm going to say yes to everything. So, listener, David has now disappeared to go through all the shoes that he's been sent. I dread to think what they look like. Mind you, it's probably better that he sent shoes rather than he buys shoes for himself, because you can imagine what those shoes would look like. Here he is.
So just to give context, these are my kind of slow run, just jogging rounds. So I'm not going to do anything high performance in them. So they need like loads of support and response. So these are, you can't really see it on the video.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, that's fine. They're fine.
So you've got quite a big
Those are fine.
Quite a big gash. Like,
yeah, but that doesn't affect anything, does it?
Okay, yeah, you hear that, Briggsy? You hear
There's
that?
nothing wrong with those.
Saving the planet, aren't I?
That's just, and also extra drainage for where you're doing particularly wet days as well.
Exactly. I mean, they're heavy as fuck, but
heavy as fuck. Extra. What's it called? Resistance for your legs.
But that's what I feel. Like I go out in these bloody bricks. I think they're meant for ultra. It's weird, isn't it? Why as soon as you do an ultra, they go right. So wear bricks. Like, anything I want it to be lighter because I'm having to run so far.
Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, in my head, I'm like, well, if I go out wearing these bricks every day, when I come to race day and I'm not wearing bricks, oh my god,
that's it. They should sell shoes in, like like in I'm trying to think of something particular, and I'm going to use an example which doesn't apply to me. So, like, sometimes you have, I don't want to use cosmetics here. Sometimes you have a day cream and a night cream, okay, for something. Like, you have a cream you put on the day, and people like, this is because I've got a client who does this, so I'm talking about this, not from personal experience. But the things go together.
Very vibrant this morning, actually. Have you been trying on their products?
No, I haven't.
Is it the haircut or
no? It's not the haircut. No, it's not the haircut. No, not at all. No, I don't know. What do you mean I'm vibrant?
You look so youthful today.
I look youthful.
Yeah,
it is just the haircut. That is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if I leave my hair for too long, I do look a little crazed. Kind of in a here's Johnny kind of way. I do. Yeah. Come across with that. So what was I saying? Like, you get a day cream and night, and the two things are supposed to go together. I wonder if you could sell pairing shoes like that. Like, you sell a set of shoes that are race shoes and training shoes and stuff like that, and so they complement each other, and so that they have that effect on it. So the shoes like kind of hold you back a little bit. They're like a little bit heavy and things like that. So when it comes to race day, you suddenly feel like, oh, I feel energetic. I feel light. This feels incredible. But they have to be used together over a period of time.
Yeah. So you almost, and you can add resistance to the trainer. You can fill them with more water or more sand as you progress. So you only have to do a 1 mile loop, but by the end of it.
It's like when they do. It's like when they do like they used to do in Biggest Loser, where what they did is they got people to wear those like fat vests, so they still felt as fat as they used to feel.
Oh, really?
Because they lose a load of weight and then they get put
because they missed it.
But because they missed it. That's how I really miss weighing this much. And so they get them to like run like that, and then they take it off, and of course they're like, whoa, we're going like crazy speeds here and stuff. So and so it creates that contrast. And I don't know whether it would actually make any difference in terms of your performance, but it would feel different, and I think that's really what matters.
It would make some difference, whether it's a positive or it's just an injury risk. I don't know. That would be the challenge. Well, I'm trying to think what updates I've got. So, update number 1: did a park run with Danny Bent. Burnt him off on the last lap because he needed a poo. Brilliant! I seized my opportunity. He had a turtle head coming. Yeah, just
Did he take a caffeine bullet? Was that the issue?
He did.
Did he?
No, he didn't. No. We were a bit hungover, and to be fair, Danny's much faster than me at the moment. But we weren't really chatting, and he was carrying me for 2 laps, and then I wasn't sure of the etiquette of running with a buddy when you're doing a park run together, which obviously is a race. We'd started late, so we're coming through people. And then it was the last lap of, are we talking about whether we're racing each other, or are we just assuming we are, or are we kind of just testing each other as friends and seeing what happens? So, yeah, I wasn't sure of the etiquette of that. But
wait a minute. Did you see him actually defecate? Or maybe he felt the pressure of that race and felt he had to make an excuse?
I do believe it, because he's probably about 2 minutes quicker than me at 5K at the moment. So he'd have to be having a very. I mean, we did have a fairly big night the night before, which probably affects him more than
Was
me.
this part of the game? Was this part of the knowing that you're going to do 5K? You're like, if I get him to eat this at this time, and I plan for it to go through his intestine, he'll hit just as we're doing parkrun.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of ways to, because I'm still stuck can't train fully hard, but training a bit, and a bit uninspired. Trying to think of ways to actually ensure that I do train and do get out there. So I went segment hunting, a Strava segment. I was one of those twats.
Oh, okay.
Saturday afternoon, because Briggsy was lying in bed and I didn't get a park run the week. So this was this weekend. Yeah. And Briggsy was there. She's a bit ill. I'm like, well, I know she'd rather I was stayed in today. So I did. So I got to about 5 o'clock, like, I haven't been for a run today. I want to. I need to. So just went out for a 0.75 mile segment that was winding through random streets. And I've got to say, I absolutely loved it. I forget how fun it is because even if you're doing a 5K is quite far. You're not really at a fast speed because you're still, 20, 30 minutes worth of running, but going out, all guns out, even on an interval session, you're still doing it 6 to 10 times. Whereas going out, having a jog warm up, and then absolutely blitzing less than a mile, it's super fun. And it really is, it's not intimidating in the way an interval session would be, or in the way having to go and run like a tempo run is, because it's so short and silly and almost meaningless. But it's great. It started at a pub, a really good pub near me, local. It went past the best pub middle distance away from me. It ended at the best pub a fair distance from me. So it meant that you were running with all these people in the pub and you just feel like an absolute hero. Just brilliant.
Oh, right. I was thinking, what is the relevance of the quality of the pub in relation to the segment?
Well, do you not feel that it felt like home turf? It felt like the more affinity you have to the area or the route.
See, this is it. This is what you don't understand the pain of someone who does not look like a runner running past a pub or something else. So you just if it's fine if you kind of look like a runner as people think a runner should look. Any deviation from that in terms of body
fat, the milkshake,
whether you're wearing full ultra kit, whatever, that is it's an absolute gauntlet that you're running there. Because you're going to get abuse. Or, if you're female in any way, or, I don't know. I think it depends. Feeling like a hero when you're running past a group of people is not a feeling that and also many other people probably.
I guess you're setting yourself up for a fall as well, aren't you? If you're feeling like a hero and they just say one thing,
I think the way that you do it is the more that you think they don't perceive you like a runner, the more you have to kind of create real celebration and really, really kind of own it as well.
You've really got to give
just high-fiving, like knocking pints out of their hands. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's he doing? I'm here, guys.
But it's made me think because I reckon I need a little bit of motivation like that at the moment, and I've been looking around for some segments, and because it's London, there's some segments that are just really good, and I'm never going to get those. But there's also a lot of segments that have 50 cyclists who've ruined it for everyone, which is deeply frustrating because there's a lovely downhill around the side of Peckham Rye that I would love to take on full gas. There's no point because you're taking on a bike. But it reminded me of how fun it was to create segments as well, because this segment that I did the other day, pub to pub, but it crosses a main road. And I think that is, that to me, when it just gives you so much more adrenaline when you're turning the corner and you're like, are there going to be buses? Are there going to be cars? And you run at it, you don't slow down, and you then have to make this decision of where's my angle? Like, can I make this?
That's true. Like I had a route when I was training for a race I'm not going to mention. I used to have this 10K run in Brighton, and of course, invariably,
is it Brighton?
Invariably, you have to cross like loads of roads. And I was like, every time I was like knocking like a few seconds off it, but but it would be totally. And I think I'd have to cross like 3 main roads and about 4 or 5 kind of smaller roads. But yeah, the whole thing could go wrong. You just pick at the wrong time, and in advance you'd be like going down. You're like, do I speed up now because I can see which the colors are, colors of the lights.
You've got to change your pace.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. And then it becomes much more tactical, and because of that, it takes your mind off it as well. So it actually becomes, a series of like tactical decisions. And then by the time I got into the park and everything, where you just got, the ability to run, you're like, okay, I know what I need to do here now in order to get the time that I want. But yeah, it was much more fun doing it that way, and absolutely frightening. Imagine very different in London. I mean, imagine slightly busier than Brighton.
And it just depends on the road, doesn't it? There's some country roads that are lethal. But yeah, it just reminded me that how good it is to gamify running sometimes, particularly when you're not at your fittest, you're not feeling that it's not that appealing to go out and run something that is going to be slow. Then mix it up, find a different challenge that you're gonna enjoy. But we've got some controversy brewing, which is, I'd say, the bedrock.
Brewing is it? Are we talking about the same thing we're talking about here? I don't know. When we say controversy, we could be talking about doping. We could be talking about. Are we talking about hypocrisy and sponsorship? Because we've been talking about.
I forgot about that. No, let's talk about that instead. I've got something else, but let's do that. Yes.
Well, because we've talked in detail about bad sponsorships and everything, and actually we've got the World Cup coming up. We haven't talked about Qatar at all, really, have we? And we just I feel like, for the sake of completeness, we need to do that, and just to highlight some of the things that have.
So for our non-football loving fans, is Qatar a good country or a bad country?
Qatar, it depends. If you like, if you're a dictator who likes restricting human rights and have no thought for the lives or well-being of others, it's a great country. If you're in charge, if you're basically not a member of the ruling family, and you are particularly bad if you're female, LGBTQ plus, if you are a migrant worker, anything like that. Basically, anything that FIFA awards the World Cup to, a huge amount of money has changed hands, and it was a corrupt handing them the FIFA World Cup in the first place. The fact that it has to be played in November says everything you need to know about the appropriateness of it. And Qatar, of course, I mean, it's great that it's gone to the Middle East and everything else like that. That's great.
Is it?
Well, it's the first time it's been in the Middle East, but it wasn't. But I would say of all the places to put it in the Middle East, was that the best place? Qatar.
I think Yemen
growing. No, I mean, like, that's not. I mean, when it comes to like human rights and stuff like that, there is a kind of a restriction as to different places it can go.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. I'm trying to think where in the Middle East. We're going to hear lots of complaints now. Our Saudi listeners are going to be furious. When the Middle East has
Jordan's all right, isn't it?
I think Jordan's pretty good.
Jordan's all right. It's very poor though, and so probably wouldn't be able to host it in the same way.
You can't even say Israel because they have a horrific human rights record.
I don't think a lot of teams would turn up. Would
Lebanon, maybe. Lebanon 2032?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going Lebanon. I've just realised I'm not plugged in, right? So anyway, what can we do about this? Because has anyone spoken out? It's the next question.
Has anyone spoken out? So of course, the main issue around this is the fact that everyone acknowledges that Qatar is not a great place. For years and years, they've been talking about the fact that when you go to Qatar, you've got to respect their their culture and everything,
their authority.
Yeah, authority. You got to expect our authority. Which is a bit of an issue because
respect our culture in prison.
Well, I don't know. It's weird. Like respect our culture, but our culture pretty much doesn't respect basic fucking human rights. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know how. I mean, they just shouldn't be going there. We're like the thing is, the whole thing is we shouldn't be going there. But what's made it worse is the fact that you've got a bunch of people, a bunch of celebrities, and commentators and people who are taking money now of the Qataris in order to either appear there, like Robbie Williams is going over there and doing like concerts and stuff.
Robbie,
yeah. I mean, he's
and he said no regrets.
He is starving,
no regrets.
Isn't he? He is, he's desperate for the cash. But and like things like Gary Neville, who is massively political, and he is massive. And I'm like so completely disappointed in it because I absolutely love Gary Neville.
Unless they're planning on taking the money, going there, and then speaking out.
And speaking out and then giving the money to LGBTQ plus or migrant worker charities. I think that's the other way. But how much are they really going to speak out? They keep saying they're going to go there and speak out. Like, what is the? I mean, I don't know if you watched the Have I Got News for You when like Ian Hislop, because he was presenting and Ian Hislop pulled him up on it, and it's just like because he said to Ian,
what does he say?
He said to Ian Hislop, so is it coming home? And Ian Hislop goes, what, your reputation? And he basically said, like, why, what is your
yes, Ian Hislop.
I know, he really laid into him. It's a brilliant clip. He said to him, like, what's your excuse? What's your justification? And Gary Neville says, well, you've got a choice. You've got to stay at home, or you can go over there and you can, actually talk about the issues and bring awareness to it and highlight it. And then Ian Hislop's like, or you could not take the money and stay at home and bring awareness to it that way. And so, and it's absolutely right. I mean, I don't know exactly what Gary Neville thinks he's going to do in terms of like criticizing like the Qatari government and human, like he goes, it is also like going, what are you going to do in the middle of a football match? Oh, of course, if you were gay in this country, you're going to be imprisoned. And there's another goal. There we go. It's a penalty. Like, when is this like highlighting or awareness of it going to be created?
Is Gary Neville going to get work done and be a transgender streaker? Because that would highlight. That would be the way to do it. That would get your attention, right?
The best thing that I've seen is Joe Lycett, who I wasn't a massive fan of Joe Lycett. I just didn't find him like particularly funny, or his like theatre. But then he got really political, and I don't know whether he was political before. I never noticed it, but he got really political, and the stuff that he's been doing has just been incredible. And so David Beckham, if you recall, back in an...
If you recall, yeah, I know who David Beckham is.
No, I haven't finished a sentence yet. Do you know who he is? Back right at the start of his career, he was like very forward. He used to appear in like lots of gay magazines, like Attitude and things like that. He was very much, I wouldn't say necessarily appealing to the gay market, but he certainly like opened up, footballers and
he was courting the pink pounds.
He was courting the pink pound, yes. And he made a big thing of that and has always talked about it and everything. And now he's taken 10 million to basically be an ambassador for
10
Qatar.
million?
10 million to be an ambassador for, and it's not like 10 million to go and present something or 10 million to go and do something that's like kind of side related. It's to be an ambassador.
Wow.
And you're like, and so Joe Lycett is basically done this video, and you can go in the BBR group and see it, or you can just do a search online and you'll be able to find it, where he's essentially put an ultimatum to David Beckham, and it might have actually gone by now, but essentially said that if David Beckham's traded on courting the pink pound and for a long time, and he made a very funny joke around he married a Spice Girl, which is about the gayest thing you could ever do, and he said that he's got this £10,000 which he will shred the day the World Cup starts if Beckham doesn't say that he's giving back that 10 million and he's not gonna take it, and so he's got a website called Bender Like Beckham. And
have you looked at it? What's it called?
It's a Bender Like Beckham.
It's going to be not well made.
It's the shredding of the money. So if he gives it back, he's going to give that money to queer charities. If he doesn't, then he's going to shred it, which is illegal. But
then the new picture of the king, maybe was it benderlikebeckham.com?
I think so.
Oh, it's not coming up at the moment.
Oh, is it not?
Oh, damn it.
No.
That is a shame. So what do you...
Oh, no, Bender's like Beckham.
So what do you think is going to happen? Because I spoke to Briggsy about this yesterday, because she loves Joe Lycett, and I like Joe Lycett, but I think this is one of the most genius things to do from so many, like just the best way to highlight hypocrisy and the cause and to get your name. He is going to be globally known now because everyone knows David Beckham. You challenge, like a direct challenge. How often are people directly challenged?
I know. That's it.
In a way that is, and the fact that it's coming from a lovely place as well, and clearly, like, I used to like you, maybe I still do. I respect you. It's genius, and it will be reported globally. People in America will now know who Joe Lycett is. If you wanted to go on James Corden or the late shows, I'm sure he could. Absolute genius. That's how you do it, Gary Neville. So what do you think? How do you see this playing out?
Get totally ignored by Beckham.
That's what Briggsy said, because
I think that's the only thing you can do. Like, I think if I was in Beckham's situation, I'd totally ignore it and just think a big proportion of people will not care.
Yeah, the crossover between Beckham fans and people who are there's probably more likely to be people who buy into Beckham brand don't really see him as being a right on guy. They just think he's a lovely guy who's and
remember his orbit is more around the US now than the UK. Like, we think of him as like British footballer and things like that, but he's very much LA now. He was in the final. Do you watch Modern Family?
No.
He was in an episode in that. He is so shit at acting.
Yeah, he is
so.
Well, it's just because his voice is so rubbish.
He's just like, I even watched a really great documentary about the rise of the Premier League. It was so good. And he had all these, and it was talking about things like, all the addictions that people had, the lack of support people had, stuff like that. And then there was a section, with Beckham talking about kind of the rise of, Man United and stuff like that. And they obviously had to give him a script, or he was reading off a whiteboard or something like that, because he literally was the only interview where you could tell he was reading off something. It was so painful to have to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he has to be silent, because you can't respond in a way that actually satisfies, I don't think.
Because the thing is, if he responds, then people that don't know Joe Lycett and don't know that this challenge has been handed out all of a sudden find out about it. Because there's a good possibility that majority of his US audience are not going to pay any attention to this at all.
So if you're Joe Lycett, you've got to go through with it, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Number one, what is he going to be wearing when he shreds that money? Because he was wearing a pretty kick-ass sequin jacket for the video. Oh my God,
I love it.
So he's got to go bigger for that video, right? Number two, is he going to be surrounded by like hundreds of queens and things to make just an amazing scene? Number three, is he going to tip off? Is he going to get arrested to get bigger news? Because it is illegal, and he's doing something publicly illegal and actually being arrested for it. What is the jail sentence? Is there a jail sentence? Is it a misdemeanor?
It might be one of those ones where it's like beheading or something.
Yeah, it could be treason.
One of the few that's still hanging is still the punishment for.
Yeah.
Imagine going through with it all the way to that point. There's a noose around his neck going, Beckham.
And what would he wear? What would he wear for his hanging? That would be amazing, right? If he's just got the most...
Beckham.
Hanging like, yeah. So, God bless you. Joe Lycett. I just think it's incredible.
I think it's incredible as well, and it's exactly the type of thing that needs to happen in that situation.
Yeah, you challenge what's happening in a way that is entertaining and newsworthy. And also,
there's a bit of risk. There's a bit of risk on his part.
Yeah, laying down a challenge. It's got a follow up as it opens. It's just so well thought out. Absolute genius marketing.
That video. I mean, I'm just thinking of it in terms of a piece of writing and as a piece of copy. That the script for that video is just so beautifully written.
Very funny. Yeah, go and watch it, do badders.
Yeah, absolutely. It was benderslikeBeckham.com. It's probably happened by now. Like the countdown's on 4 days. Is this going to be out in 4 days?
Yeah, it's going to be out. No, it's already happened. Oh no, it's too late. Oh well. It was great, wasn't it? Jay's response is great.
I can't believe he was hung.
Yes.
No one saw that coming. There's blood on your hands, Bex.
It's going to be like the Nathan For You season 3 episode opener where he's talking about. Have you seen that one? We talked about it about 4 years ago, maybe even longer. Where to start, he says, "Why am I? Hey, I'm Nathan For You. Why am I stood here? Where if something doesn't happen, my trousers will be pulled down, which will reveal my junk to this room of young children, which means this policeman will come and arrest me for indeed." And it was just escalating like that. It's going to be like that. But well, thank you, Joe. Whatever happened, we loved you for it, and it was great to have you in this world while you made an impact.
While we're still talking about Nathan For You, we never talked about was it called The Rehearsal? We talked about The Rehearsal. We talked about watching it, and you said watch it to the end. It gets a bit dark. Fucking hell.
So if you haven't watched the Rehearsal, do bad.
I don't think I've ever seen or experienced anything like it.
Yeah, so we've talked about Nathan For You years ago because he's not done anything for a while. Go and watch that; it's just genius. It's almost like a Gordon Ramsay style. Send in an expert to be a savior, and he does it for business. Except all of his ideas are stupid or dreadful, but could work, but don't work, or might work, and they're just. But it's almost TV eating itself because it's parodying the genre, but then also doing it. So he does that with The Rehearsal, where the first episode that we spoke about. Had you seen the second episode at that stage?
I can't remember. I think we'd watched the first 2 episodes.
So the first episode is where they asked a gentleman on who always wanted to. He was worried because he was part of a quiz team and he'd lied to them about having a degree, a certain degree. And so Nathan For You set up this whole scenario where he could rehearse everything, where they stalked one of the friends and learned her mannerisms to get an actress to then play her in the scene. They then recreated the bar that he does his quiz.
It's just insane.
But they push it so far that the individual really is sickened by them, and you can see is visibly shaken and potentially is damaged by their actions. So that's where we left it. What is it, Jody, that you felt by the end of the show was just like it? I mean, it makes you so uncomfortable.
There's an element of crossing the line, but then there's an element also of confusing the child actors and not knowing whether those child actors are
is it real or is it not?
Oh, it's one of those things where you're going, this is either just pure genius or the most damaging thing that I've ever seen in my life. There is so much that just crosses the line.
So to shortcut you to it, too bad is so skip past this 2 minutes if you want to watch it or if you haven't watched it, and actually you should watch it. It's brilliant, The Rehearsal. But the plot deviates as they always do with Nathan For You's, and he ends up trying to simulate for a lady having a child and bringing that child up to the age of 18. And so it's all fast forwarded, but because of the child labor laws, they have to keep on changing the child because they can't
every 8 hours or something, don't they?
So they literally just
and they're aging the child at the same time as well.
But then there's one section where it gets, and this is where it's really tricky because you don't know whether it's real or not, where one of the children who he ends up with getting quite close to one of the mothers because the female in the experiment gets fed up with it and kind of leaves. And then the child doesn't have a father figure. And so the child then doesn't understand that Nathan isn't his new daddy. And it becomes horrifically
That's when it
heartbreaking.
Gets and at that point, you're just like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know whether this is real or whether this is acting or...
And how damaging this is and what the morals of this are. Because it's kind of, but actually, and that's its brilliance because it highlights how morally reprehensive a lot of these reality TV shows are, where they do just burn through people's lives for entertainment and dump them out.
But there's like also this subtext going along around about how the fact that he struggles to replicate the same feelings, and so he then has this like. As this like main plot goes through, I mean, we go so far off the main plot, so he doesn't understand how to feel about certain things, and in order for it to be real, he feels like he has to learn how to feel it, and so he then puts himself in situations that he's been in with someone else playing him, and then someone else playing him pretending to play him, but by the end, I mean, like by the end, it is so convoluted and it just goes in a direction that you just think I don't know how, you just don't know how you feel about it at the end.
I don't
know if I'm confused. It's just just genius.
Well, I've got
I reckon 50% of people will watch it and go, this is genius. 50% will go, what the actual fuck have you just made me watch?
And some people will be morally outraged. Rightly
some
so.
people will be outraged. Yeah, exactly. And I think all of those responses would be fair.
Well, now I've got 3 new recommendations.
Oh,
but I'm just trying to think how long we've been recording for, whether it's going to make the bad stuff too long to talk about them. I'll do them in reverse order of speed of watching. Have you watched the Untold series?
No, I haven't.
Netflix, Untold. It looks at different. It's very US focused. So some of the documentaries aren't as appealing to me, but it's got some absolute gems in there. It's almost in the vein of Losers, where it looks at unusual stories in ways you wouldn't expect, or you didn't know about. So the first one that I think Ross Mack recommended to me was something like The Greatest Race, or the untold story of the Greatest Race, to do the America's Cup, and how Australia beat America, who America had won. I didn't know this. America had won the America's Cup for something like 120 years in a row. Or 120.
See, they do it better, don't they? America does it better. They invent sports and they invent competitions and they win them. We invent them, and like the next year we lose them and never get them back again. Like, it's just that's how you do it. That's how you do it. American football. Wow, it turns out that America's won the World Series about 200 years in a row.
But it's great because I think that first one's great as a sporting documentary because it looks at the obsession that you need and the commitment that you need, because it's every 2 years, and to be able to enter it, you have to go through. I mean, it's an insane format, but you have to go through a qualifying of racing every country in the world, and everything from the design of the boat to the build of the boat to the crew. Actually, maybe not the crew, because I think Ben Ainsley has raced for New Zealand, but the design of the boat and the build of the boat has to be done in the country. So that makes it super tricky as well. So every other country in the world goes through qualifiers to qualify to then race whoever the holder is. And so,
I mean, you say all the countries in the world can afford to compete. Which, what is it? There must be about like 4 countries or something.
Yeah, well, I think quite a few put in. I think you're probably up to like 20 or so. But obviously, the financial investment to get one of the fastest boats on Earth means that even I don't know how competitive those boats are. So it's about how Australia won it, and it's about that, and also about how the American team and the American system, almost how they responded to the awareness they might suddenly lose. Because actually, for them, it's hosting the America's Cup was a massive business, because you suddenly got 20 teams who come to where it's hosted and then set up. Imagine Formula One teams, the equivalent, having 20, 30 of them on your shores almost constantly. And you lose that and you're losing millions of pounds worth of business. So actually it changes from being a sport. So that's brilliant. But it also, there's 2 other episodes I watched that are great. One of them is The Untold Story. Have you heard of the basketball brand And One?
No.
Me neither, which amazed me, because I used to love basketball in the early 90s. I used to play it a bit, and so it's the rise of when you had Jordan and the Bulls. After that, And One came along, and they came up with this alternative basketball tour that was almost like the Harlem Globetrotters, but they were actually playing. And they were actually just unbelievable. It was unbelievably skillful tricks that they used in a game, as opposed to almost creating a choreographed game. So that's amazing. And then there's also a story about an NBA fight that I had no idea about either. So watch those 3. You had one as well, didn't you, Jody?
I did. I don't know if any. I mean, this is it's quite a popular one, but I thought it was quite interesting. Have you seen The Devil's Hour?
No.
On Prime.
That's why.
It's quite. There we go. It's quite interesting. I thought that, oh God, I don't know what this is going to be like. This is going to be one of those, like, because when loads of people say, oh, it's good, it's always a fucking crime drama of some kind, isn't it?
Often.
Yeah, but actually this one was and so it's one of those ones where you start watching it, and if I said to Libby this is a sci-fi, she would never have started watching it. But you don't really, but you can if you're into sci-fi and that kind of thing, you got a partner who doesn't want to watch it, you can get them into it enough without them realizing, because you think it's a horror.
So almost Game of Thrones you into fantasy.
Exactly. It kind of like tricks you into that, because you think it's like a horror and stuff like that, and eventually it turns out that. But the thing is, it's almost like sci-fi horror for beginners, because as you're going through it, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really good, and it's the story of someone who wakes up at 3:33 every single night, with various nightmares and things like that. And
so not to go to the toilet, because they're
not to go to the toilet. No,
okay,
no. It's none of that prostate or prostate.
I mean, that doesn't sound like it that exciting.
I mean, that would be brilliant. It was just, imagine that there's an old guy who goes, I wake up at 3:33, and you've got all these psychiatrists going, we just don't understand why. I think it's just, I think I just need a wee. I think, and that's what it turns out to be in the end. 6 hour-long episodes to turn out that he just needs a wee.
That was like my 2019.
But yeah, so it revolves around that, and so you think, okay, this is and it kind of dives into it. But if you've watched as much like sci-fi horror, read all, and I'm going to talk about things like standard time travel like tropes, and you understand all this stuff. You sit there and you literally go, I'll tell you what's going to happen next. This is going to happen next. Like even like the way that they kind of do stuff, like when like in horror films and stuff, like where someone appears all of a sudden, things like that, and you're like, someone moves to a part of a room, and you go, I guarantee when they move back, there's going to be someone standing there, and
Yeah.
it hits all the beats of all like the
So it's almost like Scream in the way.
Exactly. I mean, that was the point of Scream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was just to keep repeating those, but you still were scared by it. But yeah, this is it, and so it hits all of those beats while you're watching it. So if you do like sci-fi and things that are like a little bit kind of offbeat and things like that, you're going to watch it. You're going to think this is like a beginner's guide for all of the.
So you're calling our listener basic?
So no, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying listen basic, but. If the other person watching it doesn't know anything about sci-fi, or has never watched sci-fi, it'll all be completely original to them. So it's almost as though I've talked you out of watching it, because I've gone like you're gonna understand all these things, you're gonna see it all coming, and the person watching it is going to be tricked into it and is going to get annoyed at you about sci-fi. So in totality, don't watch Devil's Hour.
Thanks for that. Thanks for wasting an hour.
No, it's really good. It's really, really good. Even though you know those things are coming, I think it's really good. I really like the conclusion. I like the way to, even though you know, kind of like really early on, you know what, if you've watched any kind of like time travel type stuff like that and things like that, you know what's coming and you can see exactly what's coming. But it's still really enjoyable, which I think is a sign of a good series.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to talk about Welcome to Wrexham because I think you should watch it first.
Welcome to Wrexham. I told you to watch that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. I think that's a separate thing, because I think that's actually a there's a load to unpack in that. Which
so much going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a brilliant series, isn't it? Also, the thing I wanted to talk about, which we won't talk about this time, but have you read Bob Mortimer's autobiography?
No.
Right. Okay. I think we need to talk about that, because there were a lot of parallels between this and some of the stuff that he talks
other than success.
Apart from success. Yes.
But put it on your list. And have you seen Woodstock 99?
No. Is this the one that you were telling me about where it all goes wrong?
Yes.
Yes. They tried to put it back on and they just basically hired a load of like the wrong type of bands and stuff for it, and it kind of just ended up being on fire and shit.
Although I think someone else has told you that.
Someone else has told me that. You're right. It wasn't you. Yes.
Yeah. So if you liked Fire Festival, and of course everyone did, this one is next level, I'd say. Fire Festival was great because you hated the people going, and when things went wrong for them, you delighted in it because they were all vacuous social media whores. Whereas Woodstock 99, I think it's quite hard to explain. It's particularly because I think most Brits have been to a festival, and they tend to be pretty well run.
Right.
And you notice when they're not well run, if there's a queue for toilets, if anything happens to the water, small things like that, because they can escalate so quickly, even the ones that you think aren't well run are actually incredibly well run to have not escalated to the point of danger. And then comes Woodstock 99. And what explains that if you think Fire was an episode, Woodstock 99 is 3 episodes. That's how much the shit went down. And it's just brilliantly crafted in that if you imagine a festival the size of Glastonbury, but with only one stage, that's in essence what it was. Crewed by people who don't give a crap, and organized by people who even today are completely oblivious to their failings and blinded by their own belief that it was great. And it's horrific, it's massively entertaining, and it's a real insight, I've thought, into how hard it is to organize like a proper festival and the amount of details and logistics that go into it. But at one point it sees Fred Durst crowd surfing part of the stage that's been ripped off whilst shouting to everyone to rip stuff down, and they're all chanting it. That's the middle day of it. It's not even the end.
I mean, I mean, if you ever want to talk about a low in music, Fred Durst really was the inhabitant of that nadir.
Yeah, and this may have a watch of it, see what you think. And it's also one of those festivals where you think, God, I'd love to have witnessed that, but I'd have hate to have been there.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
The slight difference. Like, actually, that would have been incredible to have experienced, but depending
I'd like to
on...
have watched that from a Winnebago, slightly removed, with a cocktail.
That wasn't burning. Yeah, and just an amazing episode. So we haven't done a kind of Netflix, Amazon TV roundup for a while. We'll talk about Welcome to Wrexham next time we're in a couple of episodes. So if you haven't watched that, people, watch it.
There is no time travel, multi-dimensional anything or horror based elements in that. So if the suggestions haven't appealed to you, Welcome to Wrexham might appeal to you.
And any more recommendations, then messages, letters at badboyrun.com. Now, I think we're going to round up the show quite soon, but I thought I'd give a shout out to one of our reviewers. So our reviewer today has a review. If you want to do a review today, you've got to squeeze in Benders Like Beckham somewhere, or something like that, or say something horrific about Qatar in your review. I think that seems fair. But apologies to Lulu Runs, who's left us a review saying, please run Brighton Marathon. I swore I'd never do a road marathon, would never run Brighton, but didn't make the London ballot again, and like yourselves, eating my words. Now, apologies. Thank you for the review, firstly, Lulu Runs, but apologies that we've got you to sign up to a race that looks like is it now off, or is it just in administration?
Do you know what? Since then, there has been what's it called? Word from Brighton Council that they say that they are committed to the race going ahead in some form. Oh. And so whether it's grounded events or whether it's someone else, but they are committed to finding another provider who, when I last looked at it, another provider who's going to...
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's the way to do it, isn't it? To say that, we are willing to do it. I think I still think it's a ploy to make sure that if they when they go to administration, that the council get paid for what they're doing if they want to come out of it, because they're going to be the best place to run it again.
Yeah. But,
they've got the council don't want to come out of it, and and rightly so. As taxpayers, you don't want to think that you're missing out, but it's all dependent on creditors and stuff.
And actually looking at it's quite cleverly. So it's the 31st of March, 2nd of April weekend. So I've just looked at my calendar and I've got a message saying hold sexy. So I don't know what that means, but that's been put in by my wife. So I think that means on the Saturday we've got something on at least. But do you think they've put it substantially earlier than London Marathon? So I think it's 3 weeks before. And let's just check that. London Marathon dates. I can't spell. So London Marathon 23rd, so 3 weeks before. Do you think they've done that intentionally, cleverly, as a way to get people who haven't got through to London, but also make themselves available as a half marathon or as a trial run marathon for people to go for a PB, and if they don't get it, have London there, knowing that people might do both.
Yeah.
Because that's actually super clever, because most times races will kind of be the week before or after London and trying to be as close as similar to it. I think so that you just look at your diary, like, I'll do that one instead. But also it means you can train with your colleagues, your running club, you're all on a similar schedule. And actually the annoyance of this one is you've probably got to start training in about 2 weeks' time if you're doing a 4-month plan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to check my wife what the plan is for Hold Sexy. And I certainly will do batters. I mean, if you want me to report back on what that...
There's lots of different ways that can be interpreted. Let's not go there.
Yes. And but I could potentially be up for that, even if I'm pacing London, which who knows if I will do.
Oh, wait a minute. Like, we haven't talked about this. You've talked about this potential pacing London, that coming back in again. We haven't talked about what that means, because you were definitely out. You were definitely outside the circle, and now you seem to have wormed your way back inside the circle. I want to know, but let's leave that as a cliffhanger for the next episode of the bad stuff.
Indeed. Will he or won't he? And do we give a shit in any way? No, it's absolutely fine. Well, thanks for listening, guys. In terms of interviews we've got coming up, we've got some really good ones. One with Jet Tony, with two Tonys coming up. Wow, that's cool.
Two Tonys. Don't mess with two tones.
We got Big Tony and Barefoot Tony. And Big Tony is just, it will bring absolute joy to your world, and also tell you what you can do with your old running trainers in a really good way. We've got Barefoot Tony, who's, Jody wasn't on that one because I can't remember why. I think I hadn't put the event in the Bad Boy calendar, put my own one by accident. But he's super interesting. He's run Land's End John O'Groats barefoot. He's done the same Southwest Coastal Path. And he's almost quite shaman-like is how I describe him. He doesn't have chairs in his house. So that one was super fascinating. And in terms of interviews we've got coming up, we've got Jack, who is it Jack Kunzel, I think is his surname, I might be wrong on that one, who smashed Killian's Bob Graham record. He's coming up for interview. We've also got the behind the scenes of the Golden Trail, where we go into a lot of detail about the runners that you just won't hear anywhere else. So keep on subscribing, all that jazz. And anything to throw into the mix, Jody?
No. Yeah, if you're going to join the conversation, go to Facebook and type in Bad Boy Running Podcast, answer 3 questions, and join the discussion there. You can also watch, we've got the Joe Lycett video in there if you want to have a look at that. Where actually by that time it might be Joe Lycett, being arrested or executed or something else. We'll know. Just go to the Facebook group and we'll provide an update in there.
And get your tickets.
Merch store.badboyrunning.com.
And get your tickets to the run show. We're going to be now hosting the Bad Boy Running Club Christmas party then, because London is just too expensive for accommodation. And so we're going to combine it so that it just saves people saves money on costs, but also hopefully get everyone there. So make sure you got a ticket. We've got some really, really cool guests. Gary Robbins, Dean Karnazes is returning. Damo, and lots of your other favourite runners. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Fuck you, Buggy.